Good morning. I'm just drinking some water. Good morning. Good morning, Veronica. And Robin. And George. Good morning. Good morning. How many times can I say it? So today we're going to fill in. I almost said finish. Oh, we're not going to finish this today. Ain't no way. Today we're going to fill in these little guys here. I've just seen that my screen has a little crack like in the protector. That's going to really drive me crazy. Ugh. I'm sorry, but we're going to fill in these here today. And then we're going to also do these lines because guess who forgot to do it yesterday? Me. So we're going to do that as well. We'll do that first. So far we've done a stem stitch. And today we're going to do a back stitch and a whipped back stitch. So you can choose whether you want to do, if you did two colors, you can choose which one of the two colors you want to have as your stem. So I'm just going to use the leftover from before. And backstitch is something that that you use like all the time. But with this one, we're going to go back and whip it as well. So you're going to learn 2 stitches in one for the stems for today. And then we'll do a satin stitch around here. And I'll show you how to add a lot of details in the middle, or you can just leave it like that. So we'll save the very center for when we do French knots on French knot day. I'm going to use 3 strands. So I'm going to separate it like this. Do a little separation. And I'm just going to thread my needle and do a little knot on the end, just like the regular way. Because really there's no need for me to start with no knot, if you know what I mean. Snip those extras. Okay, so I'll zoom in. It's absolutely horrible today, so apologies, but the light looks all right, so I'm gonna leave it like that. So I chose the lighter color, and I've got 3 strands because I'm gonna go back and whip it. So it's gonna give the illusion of 6 strands, even though I'm only using 3, if that makes sense. So let's do the back stitch. And we haven't really talked about the back stitch. We kind of just did the other ones first. But with the back stitch, you're just going to go forward a stitch length, and you want to make all of your stitches the same length all the way down. And you're going to come forward like this, 1 stitch length, and then go back down this hole here. Can you see? Should I zoom in a little bit more? Oh, someone said the weather in Germany is horrible too. So I've just done 2 little back stitches. I'm going to continue going all the way down. Someone said pencil draw the bottom line. I'm not sure what that means. I did not draw these lines with a pencil, if that's what you're saying. I did it with a Pilot heat erasable pen. Is that what you meant? So I'm just going to finish it like that. And then I'm going to keep going all the way down. I'm going to go, I was going to go around this. But you can go straight down if you want to as well. Just like not leave a gap there. Especially if you feel like, Hannah, thank you. Especially if you feel like you are not going to be able to get that shape again by stitching, if you know what I mean. But if you feel confident, then go ahead and stitch straight over it. Okay, so there's the back stitch. And then we're gonna go back and whip it. So this is gonna become the whipped back stitch. So we're doing the two stitches in one today because the back stitch is great, but it's like a really simple basic stitch. But I also feel like when you have a lot of details in the leaves, you don't necessarily want to have a lot of details in the stem. So what we're gonna do is go back up through here. So we go all the way down and all the way back up. So we're gonna go here like this, back up here. And for this one, to whip it, we're gonna make it look almost like a stem stitch here, where it's a little bit twisty. Hi, David. David's just taking Jessie for a walk and he's just coming to say hi. Hi, babe. So under each stitch, it doesn't matter if you go from right to left or from left to right. I'm going to go right to left because obviously I'm right-handed, so that's easier for me to do. So all we're going to do is just slide our needle under each of these stitches. We're not going through the stitches. We're going genuinely underneath each of the stitches. So you're just going to push that through like that. Yeah. And then go back to the right side again and go under like that. And with this, you don't want it to be too loose. Just to zoom in again. You don't want it to be too loose or else you'll get this kind of like twirly look like this. See how it's like too loose? So you kind of want to pull it straight up. And because I went around my petals, I'm going to go down here again. Up here. You're welcome. And you're going to whip at all of them. So if you did a straight line, then it will be way easier. Obviously, I went around with the petals, so that's why I have to go back down in between. So it's 3 strands down. And then for back stitch, and we're going to go back and whip it. So it's going to look a little bit thicker, almost like you've used 6 strands in the first place. I loved the whip stitch. Learned it in the first Christmas stitch along. Great teacher. Aw, thank you. I also love the whipped back stitch. The only way that I don't love the whipped back stitch is when you use it as an outline, because like you see me doing already, obviously, and like you're going to do on your pattern, you have to slide your needle under each of these stitches. So if you already do a satin stitch, say a satin stitch around all of these, and then you think, oh, I'm going to outline them, a whipped back stitch would not be my first choice because you have to go under each of the stitches around here. And because they're small and round, you're going to have smaller stitches and you're going to have to go under each one of them, but then also not mess up the stitches that you have around it. So whipped back stitch, I think, is really great for a lot of things, but sometimes for outlines. Man. Does me head in. And now we're all the way back where we came from, and you're going to go straight down. Yeah? So there's one. Alice London says, impossible not to sing whip it when you do it though. And then I think it's Marian said, yeah, it's annoying for an outline. Stem stitch is way better. And then Olivia says, whip it good. I probably should have changed colors here, but it's okay. I'll do it all in the green because there's only one big long one and then just one more over here. And you can always do like another color to whip it. So you could do, like I'm doing the light green for the actual stem and the back stitch. And then what you could do is finish this one off, tie a knot on the back, and then use a different color to whip it. So it almost looks like a candy cane. And that has a nice effect, especially around Christmas time. I know we did the lettering with the candy cane letters. So normally I would spend a whole day on whipped backstitch, but because I just forgot to do it yesterday, we're gonna move like right along, yeah? Now I will say the only other thing to kind of like keep in mind with whipped backstitch is because you're doing it twice. So I've got 3 strands and we went all the way up and all the way down. Keep that in mind when you choose your strands. Yeah, keep that in mind when you choose your strands, because if you do all 6 strands, when you whip it, it's gonna look even thicker, you know? So it's just something to think about. And the other thing is you're always gonna go the same direction. So if you go right to left, you're always gonna go right to left. If you do it right to left and then left to right, that's a different stitch. So we're also going to do these flowers, these 3 flowers today. I know, too much in one day, I'm sorry. But whipped backstitch is so simple. So please, it's not just me. Never, you're never alone. So go ahead and grab a color thread for the flowers. You're never alone, guys. Oh, do you know what else I got? I got my brick. Do you see it? Yeah. So now my soup cans won't fall down. It's the little things, right? And it's heavy too. So that's good. Okay, so we're gonna fill in each of these petals with just a regular old satin stitch. I'm gonna do 6 strands for this one, and I'll probably change to 3 strands for this little baby one here. And I did not pick a color yet. I kind of want to do this one, but then I feel like it's gonna be like a lot of pink. I don't know what color I'm gonna do my house yet, but I really like it, so I guess we'll just do that. So this is one of them that the top of the petal has more space than the bottom of the petal, which means you're gonna have to kind of, I call it like tucking one in, but you're not actually tucking it under. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Where's my purple pen? All right, here we go. So because these here have more space at the top than they do at the bottom, some stitches are gonna go all the way down like this, and other stitches are gonna kind of go only 3/4 of the way down, because we don't wanna like take up all the space at the bottom down here, but we have more space to fill at the top up here. So this is a very like, it's not an extreme example, if you know what I mean, because there's just a little bit more space at the top than there is at the bottom. But if you just keep going over the same area to fill it in, it's gonna get really thick and chunky. So if that's what the look that you want, then by all means do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, make it look how you want. But I'm gonna show you how to kind of tuck them in so that you have almost like a fan effect. So here we go. I'm gonna go straight down the middle. And it's just the satin stitch. I'm using all 6 strands here. And I will zoom in a little bit more. So I like to do one down the middle and then do all of one side and then all of the other side. Sometimes I'll kind of mirror them. So I'll do almost like we did with the fishbone stitch. So one on this side, one on this side, one on this side, one on this side, kind of until it's filled up. But this is what I mean by tucking one in. So if I put this here like this, there's going to be a lot of overlapping done in this small area from here all the way to here. So what we're going to do is just put the needle down, like 3/4 of the way down. So you don't have to tuck it in by like pulling this over or anything like that. We're just going to put it down, not all the way down. Yeah. So it's just a little bit. But now when I do my next one, I go up here. The next one, I'm going to lay down. Hannah says, I was so confused. Like, didn't we do the flowers already? But I watched another Barbie Fox Stitchalong yesterday on YouTube, and we probably did similar flowers. So the next one is going to go right next to that first stitch that you did. So I'm not going to go straight down like that. I'm going to go over like this. So that these, I'm looking only through the camera right now, so I hope that that's like correct. You know what I mean? I've got that same problem with the freaking fabric because I didn't change the hoop yesterday. Idiot, Tori, idiot. And from here, I will say that there's no formula. Like some stitches, you have to do it like one here, one there, one there, one here, one there. This one is just where you feel like you have more space at the top than you do at the bottom. That's where you need to make one that's a little bit shorter. So this is one where you might not nail it on your first petal if this is your first time. But the more that you stitch like this and you kind of tuck one in, I'll say, hide one, the more that you'll kind of realize, kind of. So annoying. The more that you'll realize like, oh, I do need to like tuck one in there, or I do need like another one, or this is a bit too chunky, so I'm gonna, take it out and do it again. So this way here, you can see that all of the stitches are nice and smooth. None of them are like overlapping a lot at the bottom, where you can tell that there's lots of stitches that are trying to get in a very small space. I think it looks really nice like that, if I do say so myself. But again, if you like that kind of chunkier, God, why do I keep saying that? If you like a chunkier look, then of course, make it as chunky as you want, guys. That's fine. At the moment, it looks like I'm doing one long straight one and then one a little bit shorter. But again, there's no like formula, so don't take that as right. We do one long one, then one short one, one long one, one short one, because it won't always work out like that. So I don't want to tell you one thing and then you go and do it in your own work and you're like, this didn't work. Because it might be like that sometimes, I've got a monster knot back here. What is going on? Hi, Jamie T. Okay. And did you guys see yesterday's embroidery bingo? I made one with all of your suggestions from the question boxes, and I've reposted like so many. So I'm sorry. You're just all my stories are reposts. Whoops. But they were so fun. I think I'm just going to add one more here on the side. So funny. Like someone sent me a message and said, obviously I'm not a very good stitcher because I didn't get any bingos. And I was like, no, you're obviously just like a really cautious and responsible stitcher, because everyone else is losing their needles and letting their animals get in their shit, and you're the one that's like being responsible with everything. And she was like, I guess that's true. So don't feel bad if you did not get a bingo. It probably just means that you're like a better adult. And if you are an OG follower, yeah, from last summer, someone messaged me and was like, you need to put on there, lost my needle in a lake. And I was like, I feel like that's a little too niche. Because I definitely lost my needle in a lake last summer. So just a real quick thing here. Do you remember how we went around this yesterday? And I said we can just stitch straight over it. When you stitch straight over it, put your needle straight down into your thing. I cut my finger there yesterday, sorry. But you need to put your needle straight down in. So if you put it on an angle like this, the threads will pull and you'll have like a separation there. So what you want to do is put it straight down where you want it to be. And that will keep that nice straight line. You will still have a little bit in between because we are going like in between the threads. But if you try and put it straight down, then it'll be good. And you can always go back and put another one in if you feel like it's too, like you didn't get them close enough. Like I just didn't get that one close enough, so it's got a bit of grain peeking through. So Olivia says, I keep finding random threads all over the house, even in the garden. Yes. So I used to never stitch in bed. Like it used to be just, I used to just never do it. And I would find threads like everywhere, like in my bed, in the bathtub, like all over the place. I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to clean this up. So I like tidied it up and everything. I'm just going to do one more in here because I can see that green sticking through. And then I basically just gave up. So now I just stitch wherever I want to and don't even worry about it. I will say though, don't put your threads out for birds because the threads are cotton and they hold the water and the moisture so they can get moldy if the birds use them in their birds' nests. So they do look pretty there, but don't do it. Also, my bird saga from the other day, I think it flew away. I don't know. I put some bird seed under the shed just in case. Like I threw it under there. But I don't know. Bathtub is a good one. Like I've never stitched in the bathtub, okay? Like I'm obsessed, but like not that obsessed. So I don't know. I don't know what happened with that, with the bathtub. But hey ho. Oh, fuck's sake. These commercials, man. The production of electronic music. Are y'all interested? Because you could take that class and be a pro. All right. Ooh. I feel like I don't want to go change it because my arm is stuck. Olivia says, I've got a fluffy bathrobe and I think they get attached to that and that's how they travel. That's a good shout. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how mine were getting around. They obviously like were growing legs or something. Like in Toy Story, they were like, play with me. Now I'm stitching just straight over this stem so that it looks like the stem's coming from the flower, like out from behind the flower. Obviously, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. This ad is 4 minutes long. You guys. Because these days I'm always in my bathrobe. No shame, Olivia, no shame. We all are. I have like daytime pajamas and nighttime pajamas. So they're just sweats. Last Christmas, when I went to the States to see my family, I got these like camo print sweatpants. And oh my God, they are the most comfortable things ever. But the only other color that they had were like a cream, almost like this color, like a yellowish beige cream color. And I was like, no, I'm not going to get those because one, they're going to get dirty so quick because Jessie. And I don't really want 2 pairs of camo sweatpants and so much regret. I should have bought them. I could have like tie-dyed them or something, or like dyed them any color. Helen says, I have softies and night dresses. So yeah, when it's warmer, I do use like the night dresses or like what they call like sleeping gowns. Sleeping dress, no. I'll get it eventually. My biggest problem is that because I lived in China and I learned Chinese, I learned like the really simple way to say things. And then I came to England and then they have a whole different way of saying things that, you know, like different words for the things that we would say in America. So then I've got like basically 3 different sets of vocabulary that are nightgown. Yes, thank you. Helen says night dresses. My mom just said nightgown. And sometimes it's like Chinese would be like a mix of the two. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, it's like a water cow, you know? No, Tori, it's a hippo. Like you can't just go around saying that. So this is what the back looks like. And you know what? You'd think that since I lived in America for most of my life, that's, you know, I would know and remember all of the words from there, but it's not the case. Water cow. Yeah, and like in Chinese, a giraffe, okay? A giraffe is called a long-necked deer. Isn't that funny? A long-necked deer. Some things you just remember. I'm sorry these videos are so long, guys. What? JBT. Yeah. So every time I look at a giraffe, I'm always like, long-necked deer. That's what they're called. And that's like the same with hippos, water. Or maybe it's a water horse, actually. Not a water cow. No, I think it is a water cow. I'm going to have to look it up now. I think it's called... No, it is a horse. Water horse. I'll have to look it up. But it's a hema. Water cow. Or water horse. I can't remember. But yeah, some things that you just remember like that. All right, so back to embroidery real quick. Obviously, I said I was going to show you how to do a little bit more inside of here. So if you wanted to, you could add a little, like some straight stitches in the middle. So radiating out that way. Ooh, Helen says it's hippopotamus, not Latin for water horse. I don't know because I never took Latin. So if it is, then it's definitely water horse and not water cow. I think that would make sense. So yeah, you could always do some straight stitches straight through here. You could use different colors to kind of jazz it up. If you do that, I would suggest using a less number of threads. So maybe doing 3 or 4 and seeing how you get on with that, because you don't want the details to be too empowering or overpowering, I mean. Let's see here. If you really wanted to like go for it, you could always do let's see. I was trying to think if I just messed that up or not, but it looks fine. 6 strands for this color. Yeah, that looks fine. So if you wanted to really like do more, you could always do an outline, especially if you don't have a really nice outline here. You can do some straight stitches in here like this. I would still leave some space in the middle, because on French knot day / details day, we're going to decide if we want to do a satin stitch in the middle, if we want to do, I don't know if this is DMC or not. I'm that person that always forgets to write the number on. So some of them have numbers and some of them don't. But it's a pretty color, no? So, yeah, so leave the middles blank. And it's the same for, whoops. It's the same for a lot of the centers of these. So all these centers, this one, these ones down here, these ones down here. Someone just said, what color would you suggest for the straight stitches in the flower? That's completely up to you, whatever color scheme that you want to go with. If you wanted to do the same-ish color as me, you could do a pink one, you could do purple. How I tend to decide is to just unwrap a little bit and put it in the middle like that and see if I like it or not. If it's a yes, then I use it. If it's a no, then I don't. So it just depends if that's what you want. You can go like an orangey color. This one was more of like a creamy yellow. This is like an orange. That looks quite nice. It just depends on what colors you want to bring into your embroidery as well. So like if I wanted to do this all in pinks, then obviously I would choose a pink so that it can like match, you know? But you could also do like a blue, but I want to use this for somewhere else. So I'm not going to use this one here, but you could do a blue. You could go even darker and do like a dark blue in the middle. It just, different colors will strike people differently. Do you know what I mean? Some people will say, oh, I really like that one. And other people will go, ew, no, that's not for me. So that's why I try not to give the color suggestions for the Stitchalongs, because one, if I did, you'd have a shit ton of threads to buy. But also just buy what you like, because then when the Stitchalong's finished, you're still going to have a lot of threads left, and you'll be able to use them for other things. So if you get a lot of colors that you really don't like just because they're in a pattern, what's the point in that? You know? So someone else has just said, I'm struggling choosing the right needle size. Is that important to use the right size for needles? So I like to say use the smallest one for the amount of threads, the smallest one that you can handle, basically, for the amount of threads that you have. So for all 6 strands, I'm looking for, I'm going to do that blogger thing. I'm just using, I can't tell you the number of this one because it's from an antique sewing box, but I try to not have this part, like the shaft of the needle, be much thicker than the amount of threads that I'm going to use. So just for reference, this one is the one I use for 6 strands, and it's very comparable to the DMC 1 to 5. Let me see if I have one out on here already. This one, let me take it out. Yeah, just my needle is shorter. That's all. But the eye of the needle is similar and the thickness of the needle is also similar. This is just a little bit thinner. Yeah. Now when I use like 2 strands, I like to use this one. So for reference, this is like 2 or 3 strands. You can see that it's almost the same length. Yeah, but the eye is a lot smaller. And that is because this is 3 strands. You kind of want to match the shaft of your needle to how many strands you have. And that is because these are going to make different size holes in your fabric. So real quick, I'll show you the 1 strand as well, just in this area here. So this one here is the regular one. Can you tell? It makes some holes. And here is the smaller one. And it makes smaller holes. So it's not so different. Do you know what I mean? You can still scratch them out. Whereas something like, oh, here, idiot. Something like this is really, really thick. And when you push through the fabric, it makes really, really big holes. Let's see. Yeah? It's blunt, so I won't like stab myself. But it makes really big holes. Yeah? So if you use a really fat needle like this, yeah, it might be easier to thread because it has a much bigger eye of the needle. But what's going to happen is if you use like 2 strands with this or 3 strands with this, your strand is only that big, but the like shaft of the needle is much, much thicker. So your thread is actually going to have a lot of room to move around in here. So maybe you put the hole here like that, but your thread's going to pull over and you're going to see that hole all along here. Yeah. Now I'll show you the last one, I promise. This is for just 1 strand. And I actually have 1 strand over here because I pulled it yesterday. So very small, 1 strand, very small, 1 strand. Yeah. So people always say like, what needle should I use? One, I find needles to be very personal. Like you might really love a needle that other people don't. I know a lot of people love these Chanel needles. They're the pointy ones, whereas the one I showed you before is not pointy at all. It's more like a tapestry needle. So it has a very blunt end. Yeah, these ones have sharp ends. The shafts are a bit thicker, and they're all around just smaller. They're not as long as let me find it, the DMC ones. Can you tell? The DMC ones are just a little bit longer. Okay, so I hope that that's helpful. Sorry, I tend to like ramble on a lot when I'm, in the zone about something. So your homework is to obviously finish these 2 here. You can do them the same color as this one, or you can mix and match the colors. So you could do 1 really dark one medium, 1 light. Of course, you could do that. It just depends on what you like. So yeah, if you haven't checked out the embroidery bingo, go into my stories and go all the way that way, all the way back, and you'll find it there. And hopefully you get a bingo. If not, don't feel bad. You're just a more responsible stitcher than the rest of us. That's all. So I hope you have a lovely, lovely day. I'm sorry that I can't stitch all of them with you, but I will stitch them up and put a picture on the grid later so you can have a little look at what I'll do with it. But don't forget, don't do the middle part. Save the middle parts so that when we do French knot day, you can see all the different kinds of knots that we do. And then on detail day, you can decide if you want to fill it with French knots or if you want to do a satin stitch or if you want to weave it or something. There's all kinds of more stitches that we're going to learn. So Don't fill up all your spots yet. I hope you have a lovely day. Be sure to tag and be sure to go to the tag and leave some comments, spread some love. All right. I will talk with you later. Bye.